Hi. So I read The Heart of a Teacher, Identity and Integrity in Teaching by Parker J. Palmer from 1997. And this work is compiled from one of his books, and it's excerpts taken from a variety of his chapters. But he talks about basically teacher theory, teacher philosophical theory, and how a teacher can be good at their job. And what he says is the necessary components of a teacher being good is to have identity and integrity. And it's really interesting to hear him talk about specifically integrity, because I think that has an implication of being like morally good, and he mentions that in his article. But he says with both identity and integrity, it, in his definition, it means to know who you are through identity, your background, what has shaped you externally, and also how you feel internally, what motivates you, and combines that with integrity, or integrity follows from that, which is you are following what you believe is good for you, and you are acknowledging what is good for you as a person and maintaining that and keeping those things close to your heart. And in that, if you have both that identity, who you are, and integrity of maintaining who you are and acknowledging what fits for you and what doesn't, then you can be a good teacher, because you can connect intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually with yourself. And in turn, your students can connect through you to find their own inner selves, and then subsequently they can find their own inner teacher. My first impression reading about this was imagining, I guess more so like from an American context of the responsibilities that teachers have, that this philosophical discussion is really good, I think, but is often not practically carried out, whether it be in teacher training programs, which I can't really speak to because I haven't done them. But my implication is that there is a lot of focus on methodology and pedagogy, very, very structured things in teaching programs, and perhaps less so the self-reflective nature and acknowledging the importance of each teacher being unique and having their own backgrounds and things that, and ways that they can connect themselves to their subjects and then their students. So I think it is good to talk about this, but there needs to be more general emphasis on this idea of focusing on the teachers' selves, or else I think it's really difficult for people to set aside time for self-reflection when, from my impression, the roles of teachers are full of many, many responsibilities, more so by the day, and there might not be that much time for them to reflect on their own. But on the flip side of that, if teachers focus on themselves, Palmer's kind of infers that it makes teaching a little bit easier, or maybe not necessarily easier, but more genuine. And even if there's not that much time to self-reflect and share that with students, even taking a little bit of time to do so will be more useful for students and the teachers themselves in the long run. Another thing that I thought about was how at the end of his article, he was talking about how schools need to support teachers in their path for self-reflection, and also giving teachers a safe space to acknowledge their fears and vulnerabilities among their peers. He talked a bit about how like academic communities don't really value subjective thoughts or this kind of like inner truth that everybody has, which I would agree with for the most part. And I think how we can make this a more useful conversation is thinking about how Fulbright can kind of change its culture to welcome and guide vulnerability between teachers, because I think people's experience levels vary widely, but I think it is just difficult in general for all people, all teachers, to like acknowledge that some things are hard or some things we just don't know yet. And so I think it is good to not only talk about like the really great moments in class and the really great activities we have thought of and the great things that we do and how many great results come out of our teaching, but to kind of deep dive into the problems that we face or the difficulties we have or the challenges that we have, and then, I don't know, give time to express feelings, and then also a lot of time to kind of workshop that within each other or within our own circle, and to give feedback to other teachers and to receive feedback for our own struggles. And I think over the years there has been more acknowledgement of the difficulties of teaching, but I think it is really good to take some time and to give that space for all teachers to be vulnerable and recognize that their own, like all of our own backgrounds and identities affect what kind of teacher we are, and also kind of affect what good things happen in our classrooms and what more difficult challenges that we might have in our classrooms. So I think that would be good. I also tried to think of what were some of my like key bits of inner truth that I've used in my own classes in the past. And last year I focused a lot on environmentalism because throughout my time in Taiwan, I'm working on becoming a more environmentally conscious person, and the trash that I produce and what do I do with my waste and how I view material products. And I wanted to share that with my students because I think it is really meaningful to me to take care of the world and be able to do that in an individual capacity with these small choices that I make. So I wanted to share that with my students while integrating English. And so the kids really saw that I was passionate about this this idea, and I don't even know how much they have retained about the activities that we've learned, but that is something that I get really passionate about. And so when I'm excited to teach it in class, I think they pick up on that as well. Another big thing is music for me. I really love music, listening to music, teaching music, and sharing that in my classes, whether that is me finding the perfect song that uses a couple vocabulary words that the students are learning, or a couple times I would like sing in class and encourage students to sing along with me. And I think that was truly a time of being vulnerable, because they could see me get almost uncomfortable that I was sharing this activity with them if I was like singing for them or something. But it made me feel good to share that with them, and I'd like to think they appreciated it. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell, and I think especially in these bigger conversations about what it means to be a teacher, sometimes it's difficult for me to kind of take that and contextualize it with my own teaching experience, which is only being an ESL teacher here in Taiwan through Fulbright. So it is, the things that are talked about are really good for me to reflect on for myself. And I've been trying, through reading the article, I've been trying to think of how I can take more of myself and share that in my classes. And I think it's a longer conversation. I don't think I have all the answers today. But I'm really glad that I read this article, and yeah, it's good to read and to reflect on and think of how I can be a better teacher by giving my heart to my students, which I'd like to think that I already do, but it's always good to be reminded of it. Okay, thank you.